SWBA on Monday the 16th, you guys will be able to use parallel lines and transversals to find angle measures, section 4.2, okay? So let's do a quick bit of review on what we learned in 4.1, okay, as we dial into this. As you notice, this is actually the start of 4.2. Angle 3 corresponds to what angle here? Raise your hand. Angle 3 corresponds to what angle, okay? Elizabeth.
7.
Angle 7, very good. Angle 3 corresponds with angle 7. Angle 6 is vertical to what angle? Seth?
4.
Okay, it is not vertical in angle 4. Angle 6 is vertical to a different angle. Anyone else want to help me on that one?
Oh, 7.
Angle 6 is vertical to angle 7. Vertical angles are the ones that are opposite the x, okay? Yes.
The next one.
Okay, angle 7 is an alternate interior angle with alternate exterior angles with angle 2. Very good. The alternate sides of the transversal, and they're both exterior, those two parallel lines. Angle 4 is the same side interior angle with angle.
6.
Okay, Elizabeth.
6.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay. It is the same side interior angle with angle 6. Same side of the transversal, both interior, there's two parallel lines. How do I put the computer away? Angle 8 forms a linear pair with angles blank and blank. Angle 8 forms a linear pair with angles blank and blank. Okay, Landon, give me one of them.
6.
Okay, angle 6 is one of them that it forms a linear pair with, okay? Ryan, do you want to give me the other one?
7.
I agree, angle 7. Questions on any of that? All righty, okay? Alrighty, so it's one worksheet. Okay? Oh, no, that has not 2 pages.
3.
Okay? Now, we did this first example together, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay? So, a reminder of what we did. We said, hey, these were alternate exterior angles. And we said, hey, if they're alternate exterior angles, okay, that means they're congruent since these lines are parallel, which we are told they are, okay? So then we said, okay, well, congruent, cowbell should be going out of our head telling us to set these equal to each other. And so we did, and we solved. And what did we get A to be equal to?
25.
25 sounds correct.
Yeah.
Okay? So on the second problem, okay, second one, the one in the bottom middle of your page, what kind of angles are these two? Okay, not quite corresponding would mean that they're both in the same spot at the intersection. So, like, this one's at the top right. But this one isn't at the top right, it's at the top left.
Interior.
Something about interior, they are both interior.
It's consecutive interior lines.
Consecutive interior or same side interior. Either way you want to say that. We will more often than not go with the same side interior angles, but you can say consecutive interior if you like as well. So they're on the same side of the transversal. They're both on the top of the transversal, which is in green here, right, Bailey? Okay. And these lines are parallel like we're told. So if these are same side interior angles, are these going to be congruent or supplementary if the lines are parallel? They are supplementary, okay? Let's even look at these angles for a second. If we look at these angles, do they look to be congruent? No, okay? Now here's the thing. You can't always use pictures to help you like that. But let's just even think about that for a moment. No matter how you draw those angles, as long as those lines are parallel, there's no way those two angles are going to look congruent ever. So we have 2 options for these, congruent or supplementary, so probably the other one. What's it mean to be supplementary? What's that mean for them to be supplementary? They add up to 180, okay? So what can we do with an equation if they add up to 180? Add them.
And then equal it to 180.
Equal to 180, okay? If they add to 180, we will add them to 180. We'll do exactly what we just said. We're going to add them to 180. Questions on how we got this equation? Dank, Dope, and Lydia. Okay, now that we have this equation, what can we do?
Solve the equation.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. What's our first step in solving the equation? Dylan.
Gosh, dang, I forgot what it was called.
Okay, Elizabeth. Combine like terms. What are some like terms? Presley.
6B and 12.
6B and 12B. What are those combined to be? 18B. They're on the same side of the equal sign, so we combine them, okay, to get 18 or an 18B, okay? What else are like terms here, okay? Dylan.
The 9 and then the 11.
The negative 9 and the 11. Notice I put 2 underlines underneath those instead of the 1, so they're different. What's the negative 9 plus 11?
2.
Plus 2 equals 180. Now does this look like a standard two-step equation we know?
Yes, sir.
Okay, these are the two-step equations we know and love. Christian, what would we do first? Subtract 2. Very good. 18b equals 178.
Yes, sir.
Divide by 18.
Yes, sir.
This does not come out cleanly. It comes out to be 9.8 repeating, which is an okay answer. If you type this into a calculator, you get 9.888888888888888. And that's okay. Calculators are allowed in this classroom. Okay? They are. Okay, I don't allow them in my Algebra 1 because I'm a meanie head. Okay, but I do allow them in geometry.
I think you said that
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep. Questions on this one? Dope. Okay, Presley, how you feeling about it? Okay, good. I had a feeling you'd give me that answer, but I just wanted to make sure, okay?
Remember those heart attacks that I had last year?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring them back.
Oh, that's not good. Let's not do that, okay? All right. On the third example, okay? The third example. What kind of angles are these? Don't blurt, but I want people to raise their hands on what kind of angle they think these are. Feel free to look back at your table we made last time, which I think is the next page in your notes, okay? So raise your hand if you think you know what type of angles these are, okay? I'm going to see if I can find somebody new on this one. See if I can find somebody new to answer one of these two, okay? Bailey, you need to look like you look like you need a wake-up call. Bailey, what kind of angles are these two? I agree that they're alternate something. Are these on the same side of the transversal, Bailey? Are these on the same side of that transversal? No, the blue lines is transversal. So they're on alternating sides, so alternate. Now, Bailey, are these inside or outside? What? Inside. So alternate. Interior. Alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are what when the lines are parallel? Christian? Congruent. If we even look at these angles, guys, this 6c minus 9, does that look to be acute or obtuse? Acute. It looks to be less than 90. Does 2c plus 11 look to be less than 90 or greater than 90?
Less.
If two angles are both less than 90, is there any way they can add up to 180? No. Okay, so supplementary is out of the picture. Congruent makes way more sense here, okay? So, these are congruent, so we do set them equal to each other. We should have cowbells going off in our head telling them, hey, if they're congruent, let's set them equal, because that's what it means is congruent. Have equal measure. What?
Why is it cowbell?
Because I have cowbells.
Okay. You should just like bring it on.
6c minus 9 equals 2c plus 11. Quentin, what would you do?
Combine 6, 2c.
Okay, how do I combine those since they're on different sides of the equal sign this time?
Subtract.
Would you rather subtract 6c or subtract 2c?
Subtract 2c.
Okay, I probably would too. 4c minus 9 equals 11, okay? 4c, not to be confused with 4c, okay? Dylan, what would you do now?
See, I would add the 9.
I think it's a great call, adding the 9 to both sides. Get that away from the c.
Then you get that 20.
4c equals that 20, okay? Now, whoa. Okay, Tristan, what would you do now when it's 4c equals to 20? Divide by what? Nailed it. And Tristan, what does c equal? 5. Now, could we go back and plug these in? Yeah, and you should end up having them be congruent, right? That could be a way you could check your work even. Now, on some problems as well, guys, it'll ask you for the angle measure, so you have to go back and plug it in. So be ready to do that, okay? If we were to plug it in here, we would get, let me see, 5, so we'd get 21 and 91. So we would have them end up being the same, okay? Questions on this? You guys are doing phenomenally. Let's continue on. Okay? You guys are doing phenomenally. 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 You guys are doing phenomenally.
1, 6.
Okay, what? I'm sorry.
Nobody here threatening Will Smith. They're like, that doesn't count. He's not that good.
Okay, anyway. What is the measure of angle 6? We know this angle of 55 degrees. Raise your hand if you can help me find the measure of angle 6. Tyler, thank you for volunteering. What kind of angles are this one with 55 degrees and angle 6?
Angle 3.
Oh, I think you misheard my question, buddy, okay? So I think this could be called angle 3, but we're already told it's 55 degrees. So what kind of angles are these two? What relationship do they have? Okay, Tyler, what kind of relationship do they have? Okay. Sorry, off brand EN. Okay, what kind of name brand Tyler? What kind do they have?
You guys done yet?
No.
On different sides of the line, huh?
They're on different sides of the line. Okay, so they're alternating or same side then if they're on different sides. Okay, so we know they're alternating. Okay, so we know they're alternating something. That's a good way to reduce. Okay, now what? What else do we know about them?
Same angle.
Okay, we think they have the same. We think they're congruent. Okay, I might agree with that. Are they both inside or outside those two parallel lines?
Can I help you, Skylar, for a second?
Outside.
Okay.
Can I help you for a second here?
Ms. Hazel's got you.
Don't touch board. Now you have to sanitize it.
Look, this is outside on the banks.
So they're both
This is
inside.
inside in the river. So you're not outside, you're
You're
inside.
inside.
So what would these two be?
Inside.
Inside and on the same side?
Yeah.
So these two are inside on the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
So alternate interior angles. And we know alternate interior angles are congruent. So what's the measure of angle 6 there, Tyler?
55.
55 degrees. Measure of angle 6 is 55 degrees. For those keeping score at home, measure of angle 6 is 55 degrees.
Are you keeping score of them?
Oh, only for this, okay? Bailey, hi. Write this down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, one of my roommates in college, okay? So, my sophomore year, I had this roommate, and he was actually a guy I went to high school with. And we played soccer together. He had smelly feet, and he will say that himself, okay? But anyway, so we had this. We both had our alarms, and they were very distinct, okay? And so, he always had this song, "Now You're Gone" by Bass Hunter as his ringtone. And so and it would just go off every single morning, and he didn't know how to change the song on it, I guess. He's like, "Why do you have the song?" He's like, "I don't know, but I hate it now." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you change it?" Like, "I don't know how." And so, it was like that for, a whole semester. And so, we would just be, sitting at practice, and, I would just, be like, "Oh, I'm going to make fun of him right now." And so I'd, start singing, terribly singing on purpose. But it'd also be terrible singing if I was trying to. And, the song... And then he would start making fun of my alarm back, and my alarm was just, "Good morning, bum bum bum, good morning," and it was really lame. Okay, it was just the default alarm on my phone. Anyway, yes,
I used to have an alarm with AC/DC Back in Black.
yeah.
And I hate that song now.
I don't say the thing is once you have an alarm, you hate that song forever. Yeah, it ruins it for you. Yeah. You can't have a song on those alarms. It doesn't work, okay?
So my sister had an alarm. It was the most annoying song ever. It was "Let It Go" from President. I'm like, turn the alarm
Oh, that's a good song.
Turn the freaking alarm off!
I know what I'm going to play during work time now, okay?
Oh,
Okay, so let's look at example 3 right below. Given that lines L and M are parallel, We are given that lines L and M are parallel, right, Bailey? Okay, we're given lines L and M are parallel. I don't know how many times I'll say that, okay? So I'm going to mark that with those arrows. Answer the following questions to give the angle relationship used. These are separate questions, meaning the answer you get for letter A should not impact the answer for any other problem. Does that make sense? Like we do letter A, and then like you basically like erase your memory. You guys remember those Etch-a-Sketches? You guys know what I'm talking about, the Etch-a-Sketch where you shake it, it goes away?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like that, okay? You do the problem, you shake it, it goes away. You do the next problem, okay? It's gone. Letter A. If measure of angle 7 is equal to 100 degrees, what is the measure of angle 3? Okay? Well, what kind of angles are angle 7 and angle 3? Okay? These are alternating, same side, corresponding. What are we thinking?
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior angles. They are alternate interior angles. So that's the angle relationship we use. They are alternate interior angles. And what's the measure of angle 3 then? 100 degrees, because they're congruent when those lines are parallel, okay?
Spicy angle.
So you'd say they're alternate interior angles, and they are 100 degrees. And you need to write all of what I just wrote for my answer. What I just wrote for my answer over there underneath letter A, that's what you need. Dylan, does that make sense? Do you have everything I have under letter A?
Yeah, I do, but it's not going away.
Okay. So now I'm going to erase the angles and the measure I just put on the diagram. I'm going to say, okay, letter B. If measure of angle 7 is equal to 95 degrees, okay, what's the measure of angle 6? So now you have angle 7 and angle 6. Well, what type of angles are these? Raise your hand if you can help me on what type of angles these are, okay? Kenny.
Consecutive interior, consecutive interior.
Okay, consecutive interior. I'm going to keep calling them same side interior, but consecutive interior is just fine as well, okay? They're consecutive or same side interior angles. They're on the same side of the transversal. Okay, they're on the same side of the transversal, and they're both interior, those two parallel lines. Now, if measure of angle 7 is 95 degrees, what's the measure of angle 6? Who can help me with that?
95.
Not quite. These aren't congruent, unfortunately. Okay, Presley. 85. How'd you get 85 degrees?
I subtracted 180 from 95.
And that's exactly right, okay? So Presley's like, hey, this would be 85 degrees because these are supplementary. When the lines are parallel, same side interior angles are supplementary, meaning you take 180 minus 95 and you get 85.
Not me, I swear.
Okay, questions on that? Okay, let's look at letter C. Measure of angle 1 is equal to 120 degrees. What's the measure of angle 5? Okay, raise your hand if you can tell me what type of angle relationship they have between angle 1 and angle 5. This is our first step every time. What type of angles are these? Okay, now what do we know about them? Christian. I agree, they are alternate exterior angles. They are both on alternating sides of the transversal. And they're both exterior, those two parallel lines. They're outerior. What's the measure of angle 5 then in light of that? Raise your hand to see if you can help me with the measure of angle 5 if we know the alternate exterior angle with it is 120 degrees. Okay? Elizabeth.
120.
I agree with you. It is also 120 degrees. Alternate exterior angles are congruent if the lines are parallel. Notice I'm saying if the lines are parallel. If they're not parallel, then they're not congruent. But once they are, they are. So I'm going to erase it again, and we go on to the next one, okay? Here's what I want. I want you guys to do letters D, E, and F, okay? I want you guys to do letters D, E, and F, so the next 3, okay? So go ahead and work on these next 3. When you have it or have questions, raise your hand. Okay? Is anyone able to tell me on letter D what type of angles?
I know.
What type of angles angle 2 and angle 8 are? Okay, Seth, what are you thinking?
They're vertical.
They are vertical angles. Very good. Vertical angles is a throwback to chapter 1, okay? Vertical angles are always, regardless of whether or not lines are parallel, they are always congruent. So the measure of angle 8 is going to be the same measure as angle 2, which is 40 degrees. Okay? Questions on that? Okay, we are not going to forget about vertical angles and linear pair. We have to keep knowing them. So they're going to keep being thrown in with these new 5 relationships, okay? On letter E, measure angle 4 and measure angle 2. What type of angles are those, Presley? They are corresponding angles. They're in the bottom left of each of those intersections. Now you might look at these and think, okay, well these are same side something. Okay, and they are on the same side of the transversal, but they're not both interior, they're not both exterior. So we have to turn to something else, and that would be corresponding. So corresponding angles are what when the 2 lines are parallel? They are?
Different sides.
Are they congruent or supplementary? Congruent. So the measure angle 2 is the same as measure angle 4, which is 40 degrees. Questions on letter E?
Hey, Mr. Cussell, when you're doing those corresponding angles,
Yeah.
I learned not a trick, but
Yeah.
to do process of elimination. So like with Tyler, he couldn't figure out if you look at them, you can eliminate that they're alternate or same side interior, same side exterior, because one's in, one's out.
Yep.
So you take those out.
Yeah.
They're not a vertical angle because they don't make the X.
Yep.
So then you're just left with the corresponding.
Yeah. So what Ms. Hazel's saying is, hey, kind of a process of elimination. If you're having trouble with alternate two angles, you can look at these 2 angles, angles 2 and 4. They're on the same side, but they're not both interior. They're not both exterior, so you can rule those 2 out. Same side interior, same side exterior, okay? You can also rule out alternate interior and alternate exterior because they don't alternate. And once again, they're not both interior or exterior. They're not vertical angles because they don't make an X, okay, like angles 2 and angle 8 did. They're not a linear pair because they don't make a straight line together. So the only option left is corresponding. Okay? Hey, Ms. Haswell.
You're forgetting about Nate.
Yes, Nate. All right. Let's look at letter F. Measure angle 7 and measure angle 8. What type of angles are these, Gregory?
Ooh, I don't know the angles, but I know the angles.
Okay. Maybe I'll go to someone else for the angle, okay? Kenny.
Are they linear pair?
They are a linear pair. Very good. Linear pair. Linear, think about line, okay? Pair, 2. 2 angles that form a line together. Dylan, put the mask on properly, okay? Dylan, put the mask on properly. Thank you, okay? They are 2 angles that form a straight line. Now, Gregory, what would be the measure of angle 8? 55 degrees. Linear pair, they are supplementary, meaning added to 180, okay? They make a straight line. Line is 180 degrees. Now, what do we notice about G and H? What's there next to those letters?
Stars.
Little stars, okay? That's probably important, right? That's probably important. There must be something different about them, right? Okay? When you guys say there's probably something different about them, if Mr. Costa went to the time to put a star next to them, okay? So this, okay, you have to use a third angle. Meaning, if we look at angle 5 and angle 2, is there any relationship between them, okay? Well, are they on the same side of the transversal? No, they're alternate, okay? Are they both interior?
No.
Are they both exterior? Okay, well, that is really all of our options, okay? They're not vertical, they're not linear, they're not same sides, they're alternate, but they're not exterior or interior, not corresponding. So what we have to do is we have to use another angle to get there, okay? So what is angle 5 with another angle? Okay, Gregory. Okay, angle 5 and angle 7, what type of angles are those? I heard it? They are corresponding, so we could say it is corresponding angles with, W slash means with, angle 7. You can say it's corresponding angles with angle 7. And what corresponding angles have what type of measure? Congruent. So if measure of angle 5 is 165 degrees, what's the measure of angle 7? 165 degrees. So I'm going to write my first relationship I did there. So notice I wrote corresponding angles with angle 7. And so the measures of angle 7 is 165 degrees. Now I can use that information to help me go from angle 7 to angle 2. What type of angles are angles 7 and 2?
Linear pair.
They are a linear pair. So we can say now it's a linear pair with angle 2. And what would the measure of angle 2 be then it's a linear pair with angle 7? 15 degrees because they add to 180. Very good. Now, notice, we could not go straight from angle 5 to angle 2. There's no relationship there. So we had to go through a third angle. Now, does anyone see another angle we could have used versus angle 7? Okay, we could have picked actually any other angle if we wanted, okay? You can pick any angle. You can say angle 5 is linear pair with angle 4 or angle 6. You can say it's a vertical angle with angle 3. You You can say it's same side exterior with angle 8. You can say it's alternate exterior with angle 1. So you can pick any angle you want and use any relationship you want and then go from that angle to angle 2. Does that make sense or no? Okay, it's kind of like the transitive property. We had to use one in between, okay? Cut through the middleman. Okay, let's look at letter H. Okay, letter H is going to be very similar here. If we look, we can't go from angle 3 to angle 8 right away. You can't do it. There's no relationship. They're on alternating sides again, but they're not both interior, they're not both exterior. So we're told the measuring angle 3 is 140 degrees. If we know the measuring angle 3, what's an angle we could know? Landon. Okay, which one do you want to pick? Okay, you want to go with 5. So, angle 3 is what with angle 5? Okay, and what type of angles are they? What's the relationship? Okay, so they are vertical angles with angle 5. And so they're congruent like Landon says, so the measuring angle 5 is 140 degrees. Okay, that's okay. Okay. So, what type of angles are angles 5 and angles Nate?
Angle 8.
Yes. Okay. Same side exterior. Very good. They're on the same side of the transversal, meaning we can eliminate alternating. And they're both exterior, so same side exterior angles with angle 8. So what's the measurement of angle 8 then? It is 40 degrees. They are supplementary. Same side exterior angles are supplementary. Remember that kind of alliteration there? Same side supplementary, SSS. Okay, same side supplementary.
Is it okay if we put your air purifier?
Oh yeah, sure thing. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Alrighty. Now, hey, Seth, you said you did something else, right?
Yes, I did linear.
Okay. You did linear pair with angle 3 and angle 4, and then did alternate exterior angles. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. So once again, there's so many ways you can go about this. Okay, so it's really like doing a puzzle, guys. Okay, and you guys could have done so many different routes. Okay, questions on that? Okay, if we need to, they'll tell us. Okay, if we need any of us to move, let me know. Okay. Okay. Moving on, let's look right below this, guys. Okay. So we have this shape here. It's a trapezoid. Here's a tip we're going to do. Always extend lines when given the shape. Okay, we're given these shapes. Now let's look what I'm going to do with these lines on the trapezoid here. I'm going to extend it out this way and extend this line. Does this now look over on the left side of this trapezoid like it's two parallel lines cut by a transversal?
Yes.
Yeah, does this look very similar to what we've been doing now?
Yes.
Okay, but a moment ago, did it look like that at all? No, okay? But we have this trick where we can actually just extend a line and act like it continues, and we're fine. Because the line's going to keep going in the same direction it was. So now, what types of angles would these two angles be? What type of angles would those two angles be? Nailed it, Presley. Same side interior. They're on the same side of the transversal. They're both on the right side of this transversal, okay? And they're both interior, these two parallel lines. And that does, in fact, mean they're supplementary because those lines are parallel. Questions on how we knew any of that before we write the equation? Okay, we're going to do an equation so we can find out what x is equal to, okay? Nope, there is quite the breeze in here right now, okay? So, what equation could we do here? Okay, yep, what equation could we do here, okay? Elizabeth, you got it?
Yeah. 2x plus x minus 12 equals 180.
Nailed it. They are supplementary, meaning they add to 180. So we're going to add them to 180, okay? Ray. You could. It won't make a difference though because you're adding with it. And so you'd end up dropping the parentheses in a moment anyway, because you can't do anything with x minus 12 before anything else. Great question, though. Great question. I love that. So now we look to combine like terms. Bailey, what are some like terms right here?
2x and x.
Nailed it. And those combine to be what, Bailey? 3x. So we have 3x minus 12 equals 180, okay? Now what would we do, Ryan? Nailed it. Add 12 to both sides. 3x is equal to 192, okay? Now what could we do? Divide by 3. X equals, you guys can use your calculator for this if you want, okay? 192 divided by 3 is going to be 64. Now, did I say you guys have to plug this one in on this one? No, okay? Well, we could, and they should add up to 180, okay? So I'm going to try it real quick. If we plug it in here, we get 128 degrees, and if we plug it in here, we get 52 degrees. And last I checked, 128 plus 52 does add up to 180, okay? If you want a mental math note with this one, okay? If I take the 2 from 52, this becomes 50, okay? If I take the 2 from 52, okay, so instead of having 52, I now change this to 50. That 2 has to go somewhere. What happens if I add the 2 to 128? 130. Now does 130 plus 50 equal 180? Is that maybe a little bit easier to add 130 and 50 versus 128, 52? Okay, probably for most of us, okay? So a little trick, okay? Add up the ones column first, or take the 2, add to the other one, and then add the other numbers, okay? Does that make your life maybe a little bit easier? Okay, that's a little trick with addition you can do. Okay?
No, we have to prove things again.
Okay, question on this. Okay, now could we do the same thing on the other side of the trapezoid if we wanted? Yeah. Am I making it right now? Okay, no, but we totally could do the same thing over here and say, oh, we're going to extend this shape. And now these are these are same side interior angles as well. Once again, we don't have to right now, but we totally could, okay? And I want you guys to be able to know we can do that. Okay, so how about no, okay? So we have these different angle relationship theorems and postulates, okay? So postulate is something that you are given, and we assume it to be true. Okay. Now, if you notice here on this list, what's the only postulate? Corresponding angles is the only postulate. We were given that one first. You guys remember on our notes, we were given that one first last week? Anyone remember that maybe? Okay. If we even go back to our notes, we can, in our notes a bit, we can see that one came first. Okay, the corresponding angles postulate. And then from there, we went through and we made... and that's when we filled out the rest of the table, okay? Where we noticed, alternate exterior angles, alternate interior angles, they're congruent. Oh, same side exterior angles, same side interior angles, they're supplementary. So we found those all because of what we already knew. So those are things we discovered and proved to be true, hence they're theorems versus postulates, okay? And then I threw in our vertical angles and our linear pair like we did before. Notice these are organized as the 4 congruent first, and then the 3 supplementary, so I organize them for you. Now, I'm a big fan of abbreviating things, because writing all this out can be a pain in the butt. Okay? I'll be honest. Okay, you guys can do it still. Okay? I'm not a fan. So, let me show you how we can abbreviate all these. Alternate exterior angles theorem. Alt, ext, angles, thumb. I suggest writing these down. Okay. Alternate exterior angles theorem. Okay. Alternate interior angles theorem. Same thing, but int instead of ext. Alternate interior angles theorem. Alt int angles thumb. Okay, we don't say them that way. I'm just being funny right now, okay? But we actually say them out, like full out. Corresponding angles postulate. Core. Angles post. What are you posting? Okay. Vertical angles theorem. Vert. Angles thumb. Same side exterior angles theorem. Here's how we're going to shorten this one up. Okay, I'm okay with you guys doing either S-S or writing out same side. Either one. S-S or same side. Exterior angles thumb. So if you do S-S, I'm okay with that. Hi, Starman, Mr. Cossel. Same side interior angles theorem. S-S. Int angles thumb. Very good, Seth.
It's not even Thursday. It's not even Tuesday.
Linear pair of angles.
I saw you.
Lin pair. Now I want you guys to take a mental note, okay? Maybe even write in, okay? Maybe even write this in off to the right side. If you might notice on the right hand side you have a little bit more space there, right, than I do on my board. Okay, so maybe on the right side here, even write yourself a note that the ones I just put with a dash next to it, those 5, okay, are only when the 2 lines are parallel. Only when the 2 lines are parallel. Okay, maybe put yourself a little note, those 5 I just put a dash to, okay, are only when the 2 lines are parallel, okay? Vertical angles and linear pair are 100% of the time, but those other 5 ones, the ones we learned last class, are only when the 2 lines are parallel, okay?
Wait a second.
Weird.
Which ones are only when the lines are parallel?
Alternate exterior, alternate interior, corresponding, same side exterior, same side interior. Our newer 5.
Just write it with the trim. Like, that's weird.
Okay. Questions on this at all? Now notice, we're doing this because we're about to do some
No.
proofs.
No!
Your guys' favorites. Bailey, I know you missed proofs, so I brought them back for you.
What was proofs again?
Yay.
Take over.
The things that you don't like.
Oh,
Okay?
no.
So we're going to prove some angle relationships, okay? So right now, we're given that lines A would be our parallel, which is already marked on the picture by these red arrows. That's kind of nice. And we're trying to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Now, could we go straight from angle 1 to angle 7 saying, hey, those are congruent because they're alternate exterior angles?
Yes.
Yes. But right now, this is actually proving that the alternate exterior angles theorem is a thing. So right now, we're actually proving that the theorem even exists. Okay, so we can't use the theorem to prove the theorem. Like that'd be like using the word to define the word. Okay, have you guys ever done that? Like when someone's like says a word and you're like, what does that mean? And they use the same word to define the word. Okay, it doesn't help you at all. Okay, so we can't use the alternate exterior angles theorem to prove the alternate exterior angles theorem.
They say, what does it mean? It means it.
Yeah, it means that. Well, no, that doesn't help. Okay, so does anyone know what our first statement's going to be? Okay. Seth.
A parallel to B.
Okay, line A is parallel to line B. Okay, it's given to us. Our first ones always are given. Now, which one? Step 2. The reason says corresponding angles postulated. So of these 4 angles, which 2 are corresponding angles? Okay, Elizabeth.
All of you guys can stop.
Okay, which one are what 2 angles are corresponding?
Angle 1 and angle 5.
Angle 1, angle 5. So the corresponding angles postulate would say that those angles are congruent. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. And we can mark that on our picture with a little arc.
Every single time.
Hmm?
He looks at me and he goes, "You're not being a whisper." It's like, I want to be the one to answer every single time. It's rude.
Then stop whispering it. That's still answering.
Come on.
Oh my gosh, guys, stop. Everyone take a breath. Oof, we need it today, okay? Yes, okay? So, step 3. Vertical angles theorem. Well, what would use the vertical angles theorem? What would the vertical angles theorem tell us for this problem? Raise your hand if you can help me out with this one. Seth.
They form an X.
Okay, the vertical angles form an X. So what 2 angles here are vertical angles? Okay, Elizabeth.
5 and
Angles 5 and angle 7. So what would angles 5 and angle 7 be because of the vertical angles theorem? Everyone can look it up right on the previous page, right where we just wrote all those things. The last thing we wrote right before this. The last thing we wrote right before this. The last thing we wrote right before this. Vertical angles theorem tells you vertical angles are congruent. So angle 5 is congruent to angle 7 because of the vertical angles theorem. Now we already have one arc on angle 5, so we only need one arc on angle 7 to match them. Now according to our picture, what's it look like, which two angles are congruent that we haven't even said are? According to our picture, does it look like angles 1 and angle 7 should be congruent? Because they both have one arc. So we can say angles 1 and angle 7 are congruent. And we can use a transitive property to get there. We can cut out the middleman because they're both congruent to angle 5. Now they're congruent to each other. You guys could also use substitution property if you guys clarify what you substituted. Questions on this one at all? So this proves that the alternate exterior angles theorem is a thing. Continuing on. Colorful one. What are we given this time? The statements. What are we trying to find? The reasons. So our first statement is line P is parallel to line Q. Let's go ahead and mark that on our picture with a couple arrows. What's the reasoning for that? Quentin? They're given. That's the reasoning for it. That's our justification. Now we're told angles 3 and angles 2 are congruent. So to figure out the reason for it, we say what type of angles are they? Greg, what are you thinking? It is the vertical angles theorem. Because they're vertical angles, we're going to use the vertical angles theorem. Does that make sense? Like, if they're vertical angles, we're not going to use the same side interior angles theorem because they're not same side interior angles. If they're vertical angles, we're going to use that theorem. If they're this angle relationship, we're going to use that angle relationship theorem. Angles 1 and angles 3. Angle 3 has an arc on it, so we'll put 1 on angle 1. Angles 1 and angle 3, what type of angles are they? Okay? Gregory again. Corresponding. So what reason are we going to use? Corresponding angles. And this is actually our one postulate to get mean. Okay? But the corresponding angles postulate. But very good to know. We're going to use whatever's in the name. It's in the name. How nice is that? Okay? These are like way nicer than before because it's in the name what type of angles we're talking about. So if you can remember the type of angles we're talking about, you can remember what theorem we're going to use. Now, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. This isn't because of one of our angle relationships, because this is proving that alternate interior angles are congruent, so we can't use the alternate interior angles theorem, okay? We can't use the alternate interior angles theorem because we're trying to prove that it's a thing. Otherwise, we could have done a two-step proof. They're parallel, alternate interior angles theorem, done. We're proving that's a thing, we can't use it. Gregory. Transitive property, okay? Both angles 1 and angles 2, both of those two angles are congruent to angle 3. Cut out the middleman. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. And it's even colorful for us right here. Questions on that one? Now you could also use substitution if you clarify what you substituted. Sorry, Seth, what was your question?
Why is it mean?
Oh, because I'm a mean guy. You know this. My goal is to make you guys cry. We've been over this before, right? Okay? The more you guys cry, they so do. Okay?
My mom's a teacher. She never made anyone cry, and they didn't birth them.
Well, that's because she didn't make anyone cry.
Also, she did sometimes, but they still didn't do it.
Well, clearly you did a bad job of tracking it back then. She should sue him. Okay? So notice here, does this kind of look like a mess?
Yeah, it looks like a hashtag.
Okay? It kind of looks like a hashtag, okay? An octothorpe, if you will. Okay? Now, if there are two sets of parallel lines, each one acts as a transversal. This is what Kenny was asking about the other day. And I said, we're going to get into that. So I love that you were asking about it, though. Now, lines L and M, how many arrows do those have? 1, meaning they're parallel to each other. How many arrows do lines P and Q have? 2. So why do we think these have 2 arrows while these only have 1 arrow? Signify that they're not parallel to each other. The ones with 2 arrows, parallel to the one with 2 arrows. One with one arrow, parallel to the one with one arrow. Is the one with two arrows parallel to the one with one arrow? No, that's why it's a different number of arrows. Just like how we do different number of arcs on an angle or different number of tick marks on a line. Okay, that same kind of thing. Okay, very good, Landon. Kenny.
So can you have 4 parallel lines that are all going the same way?
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah, we could keep drawing in more parallel lines here.
And those would just be extra angles.
And they're just more and more angles. It gets big fast. Now, here's one way to make this easier, okay? You guys ready for this? Use a pencil, use a finger. Cover up one line. Now does this make it a little bit simpler to see that line P and Q are 2 parallel lines cut by the transversal line M? You guys seeing that a bit? When it's like this, is that very obvious? When it's like this, it is. Okay? Or on this side, if I cover up the second one, okay, or on the picture, I just kind of cross it out for a moment. Okay? It's a lot easier to see what's going on over on this left-hand side. Okay? Or I can do it sideways. Cover up line P. Can I see what's going on? Now lines L and M are parallel lines. Line Q is a transversal. Or I can cover up line Q now. And now I can see what's happening up here. Okay? My big tip for these, cover up a line, we turned it into problems that we just worked with. Okay, if we cover up a line, we turn it into a problem we just worked with. Now we're told this angle right down here is 105 degrees. We can find every other angles 1 through 8 as they're numbered, because we know this one angle, and because we know these lines are parallel.
I do not believe you.
Okay, meaning you do believe me, okay? Good, okay. Does anyone raise your hand if you can tell me one angle we can know and why we know, aka what the relationship is, okay? Landon. Okay, we can know angle 7 because it's what? Vertical angles, and so vertical angles are always congruent. So this is 105 degrees. So right, angle 7 in there is 105 degrees because they're vertical angles. So those are always congruent. Okay? Now once again, that might help you to cover up one of these other lines to get there. Okay? Gregory, you have another one?
Yeah, 8.
Okay, angle 8, okay? So here's the thing. If I cover up this parallel line, do we see angle 8 anymore? If I cover up this parallel line, do I see angle 8 anymore? Okay, if I cover up this line, I see angle 8, but do I see any angle measures? Okay, if I cover up this line, I see angle 8, but I don't see any angle measures. So we can't go to angle 8 quite yet, okay? Raise your hand if you have another angle we could do, okay? Kenny?
4. Angle 4.
Okay, so if I cover up maybe this top line, okay, what's angle 4 with one of our existing angles?
What's it called? Alternating? No. It's
If you turn
Yeah.
the board like this, like if you picture the board being turned the other direction.
It's
Stop blurting out, guys. Let him get there.
I got this. Hold on. Yeah, it's alternating, or no, it's not alternating.
Okay, so we can rule out a couple.
Corresponding angles.
Okay, are these in the same spot at their intersection?
No.
Okay, can't be corresponding. Are they both interior?
No.
They're not both interior?
Or, yeah, they are.
Okay, so what are they? Okay, well 7 and 4 don't have a relationship, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why.
So are those same side interior angles?
No, they're alternate interior angles.
So Kenny,
Oh, they're same side interior, yeah.
because if we cover the top line,
Yeah.
they're both on the same side of the transversal Q, right? Okay, and they're both interior of these 2 parallel lines. So what do we know about same side interior angles? They are what?
There's something else.
Supplementary. So what's angle 4 going to be?
80 or 75.
75 degrees, okay? Very good, okay? Raise your hand if you have another angle we can find. Okay, Dylan. Okay, angle 6, okay? Let me cover up. Which line do you want me to cover up? P or M? M?
P.
Okay, P. Okay. What angle ratio do we have between angle 6 and another angle?
7.
Okay, angle 6 and 7 are what kind of angles?
They're same side. No, they're linear. No,
Linear pair means they form a straight line together. These don't form a straight line, unfortunately.
6 and 7.
Yep.
do you mean?
Forming a straight line would be like they're right next to each other like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because they literally make this line. Those just happen to be all on the same line, different things. Press, you want to help them out? They are corresponding, okay?
No.
They're corresponding. They're both in the bottom right of the intersection. Now, what do we know about corresponding angles when they're parallel? Congruent. So what's the measure of angle 6 now?
105.
105 degrees. Now, could we have found that a different way besides corresponding angles with angle 7?
Yes, sir.
Could we have said they're alternate interior with the given one?
Yes, sir.
Could we have said it's a linear pair with angle 4?
Yes.
Okay, so we could have found them a multitude of ways. Okay, raise your hand if you have another angle we can figure out here. Okay, Christian, what are you thinking?
8.
Okay, you're thinking angle 8. Which line do you want me to cover up? M? Q? Okay, M. Okay, so cover up angle M real quick. Okay, what kind of angles do you have? Angle 8 and angle what make what relationship?
Angle 6.
Okay, angle 8 and angle 6 are what?
Corresponding.
Corresponding as well, so they are
Same side.
they are congruent, right?
Yeah.
So they're both 105 degrees. Okay, so now we know angle 8. Now we also could have done same side interior angles with angle 4, meaning they're supplementary. Okay, we also could have done same side interior angles with angle 4, so they're supplementary. Bailey, you have another angle?
3.
Okay, angle 3, okay. I'm guessing, do you want me to cover up line Q or line L?
L.
Okay, line L. Okay, what are you thinking? Angle 3 and angle what?
Amanda, leaf vacuum.
7.
Okay, angle 3 and angle 7 are what type of angles?
Or leaf.
Shh.
No, it's exterior.
Okay. Well, hey, Bailey, why don't you look at the picture real quick? Okay. Are angles 3 and angle 7 both exterior, these two parallel lines? Exterior means outside of, right? Are these both outside the parallel lines? So it can't be exterior. Are they on the same side of the transversal?
Yeah, so same side interior.
Okay. Are they both interior?
Same side.
Oh, wait, no.
No. Okay, so we can rule out same side interior. We can rule out same side exterior. Can we rule out alternating, Bailey?
No.
No. Okay. Or are these on the same side of the transversal or different sides of the transversal?
The same.
Okay. So we can rule out alternating. So what's our one new option left?
Linear pair of angles and group.
Okay. Linear pair, vertical, and corresponding. Are these a linear pair? Linear pair would be like 4 and 6. Are these like 4 and 6?
Oh, yeah.
They're just like 4 and 6?
Well,
They're farther apart, so they're not just like it. Okay, are these vertical angles? No, vertical angles would make an X, like 3 and 5. Okay, what type of angles are these? Corresponding, okay? Like 6 and 8 were, like 6 and 7 were. These are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are what when the lines are parallel?
Congruent.
Congruent. So the measure of angle 3 is 105 degrees. Raise your hand for another angle measure you guys can give me. Seth. Which one? 5. Angle 5 is with what angle? 3 there. What kind of angles? Vertical angles, meaning they're congruent. Okay, so 105 degrees. Now, is angle 5 also alternate interior angles with angle 8 if I cover up line Q like this? So remember this trick of covering up a line, okay? Please do that, like actually, okay? Okay, we have 2 angles left to find, angle 1 and angle 2. Who wants to help me with one of them? Okay, Dylan.
2.
Okay, angle 2 is what?
8. It's congruent to 8.
Congruent to 8 because they're what kind of angles?
Vertical.
Vertical. You could also say that angle 2 is corresponding with angle 5. Alternate exterior with angle 3. You can say it's alternate exterior with angle 6. Angle 1 is what, Ray?
75.
75 degrees. How do you know?
Take 80.
Okay, so it's a linear pair with angle 2. It's a linear pair with angle 8. It's also alternate interior with angle 4. And same side exterior with angle 3. So there's so many different options, okay? It's kind of like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle, filling them in. Questions on this, Gregory?
What was the reason why we couldn't do show
7 to 8.
Not 7 to 8. 105 degrees, whatever that angle is.
Yep.
Why couldn't we do that again?
Yeah, so if we cover up one of these parallel lines, okay, all of a sudden I cover up the angle 105 degrees, so I can't cover up line Q, can I? Okay, and then I'll do it with color on here, okay? So I can't cover up that angle, okay? I can't cover up this angle or this line because then I don't see the angle anymore. I can't cover up this line because I don't see angle 8 anymore. And I can't cover up this line because I don't see angle 8 anymore. So they don't have a relationship where we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why we can't do it. So if you cover a line and you don't see both angles you want to use, you can't use them. You got to find different ways.